record the session? Okay, thank you. All right, a very good day to everyone attending this International Design Colloquium 2022. First of all, I would like to introduce myself. My name is Nur Izura Tukiman from the University Technology Malaysia. I'll be taking the role of moderator for this session today, and I'm glad to welcome all our respective expert panels, the presenters, and also the audiences. So on behalf of the organizer, the Program of Architecture, University Technology Malaysia, I would like to extend my warm welcome to the International Design Colloquium 2022. For your information, this is collaboration between the Program of Architecture, University Technology Malaysia, UTM, and Architecture School, Brno, University of Technology, Czechia. Together with us today, we have three expert panels from Brno, University of Technology, which is Engineer Architect Radek Toman, Vice Dean for External Relations, Engineer Architect Foretnik, Vice Dean for Education, and Engineer Architect Kristek, Dean of Architecture School of Brno. And we also have three expert panels from the University Technology Malaysia, UTM, which is Dr. Tengku Intan Suraya, Tengku Aziz, Mr. Azari Yasir, and Architect Norshahida Azili. And we have 6 presenters with us. These 3 presenters from UTM is Mr. KANG, Ms. SAIK Wenzwan, and Mr. AHNAF SAMSURY, and 3 presenters from Brno University of Technology, Mr. ONDEJ VALEK, Ms. CLARISA ACH-HUBNER, and Ms. TATIANA UHRIKOVA. Please be informed that we are going to start with 3 presentations from UTM first. The time allocated for each presenter will be about 15 to 20 minutes. So I will let you know when the time is up, and then followed by 30 minutes questions and answer session with our expert panels from Brno University. And then we will continue with another 3 presentations from the presenters from Brno University, followed by a questions and answer session with the expert panels from the UTM. And at the end of our event later, we will have a photo session together with the expert panels, presenters, and all the audiences. So yeah, please be ready for that photo session later. And for all the audiences, the attendance link will be attached in the chat box near to the end of the session. So the chat box is on your right-hand side of your computer screen. Please fill in the link for us to send you the e-certificate later, yeah? So before we proceed with the presentation, I would like to invite Associate Professor Dr. Alice Sabrina Ismail, the Director of Architecture Program, UTM, to give her opening remarks. So the room is yours, Dr. Alice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Moderator Dr. Izura. So good afternoon and good morning to all who are attending today's event, especially to the representative from Brno University Technology, Dr. Radek Toman, who is the Vice Dean of External Relations, Ing.Arch Foretnik, the Vice Dean of Education, Ing.Arch Kristek, the Vice Dean of Architecture School, to all faculty members and students from Brno University, CHEZSKLOVAKIA, from Malaysia, and also we have audience from the Indonesia, India, and the UK. So thank you so much for attending today's event. So first and foremost, I would like to congratulate and would like to thank the Brno University Technology for your willingness and commitment to collaborate with our University Technology Malaysia Architecture School. So the collaboration between both parties actually started in a GIF on the 21st January, initiated by Dr. Radek Toman, who is the Vice Dean for the External Relations of the Faculty of the Architecture, Brno University Technology, through the Erasmus Plus program. So thank you so much for the initiative, Dr. Radek, and from the quick response between both parties starting from the 21st of January, we actually finally succeeded in collaborating and uniting both architecture schools, UTM and Brno, especially for the today's International Design Colloquium. And tomorrow we'll be having the International Research Postgraduate Colloquium. So this sharing session is actually valuable for both parties to strengthen knowledge in the architecture field. And especially that we look today that we're going to have a good collaboration in terms of academic and research. So perhaps if the condition permits and students can travel throughout all around the world, we'll be having the global outbound and inbound student, perhaps from Brno coming to UTM and UTM goes to Brno. And we're looking also into a lot of collaborative program inspired like matching grant international scheme that actually can provide mutual benefits for the built environment and communities in both countries. So we also look forward to have the staff exchange program and also visiting professors, either physically or virtually as part of the talent transformation, good governance and high performance delivery in UTM. So today's collaboration is actually an essential milestone in UTM and Brno relationship. So together, I once again congratulate everyone on making this event a success, and I wish everyone the very best, and here is to looking forward to our collaborations. Thank you so much to all the team from Brno, and I hope we can actually maintain the collaboration between both universities. Thank you again. So the floor is yours, Dr. Izura.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Alice, for the welcoming remarks. So I think without further ado, I shall welcome our first presenter from UTM, Mr. Lee Zikang, with his project title Indigenous Language Resource Center. The room is yours, Mr. Lee Zikang.
Thank you. Just a minute. Can you see the share screen? Okay. So, hello everyone. My name is Zikang. So, for today's presentations, I will place the pre-recorded presentation video first, and then I will open up back the presentation board for Q&A session later on. So, yeah. Hello, my name is Zikang, and this video is about the presentation of the project, the Heritage Resource Center located in Guam. The proposed site is situated adjacent to the old Guam train stations. Currently, the old station is empty, and the building will be preserved under the National Heritage.
Can you increase the volume, please?
New elevated ATS intercity train stations is also being built 100 meters away from the proposed site. For this project, namely the Heritage Resource Center in Guam, the aim is to preserve the unique heritage that only exists around the site. Thus, Guam Mandarin is taken as the design idea for this project because this is the tongues that are only existing in Guam. So what is Guam Mandarin? Guam Mandarin actually is a mutated Chinese language with both Sichuan and Hakka accents, and was the lingua franca in Guam Chinese community during the period of 1940s until 80s. It is all started by a group of students that are mocking and mimicking the accent of their Sichuan teacher in school, and then slowly this developed into a unique language that belongs to Guam only. The difference between Guam Mandarin and Standard Mandarin can be noticed from the mutated tone of the specific word, where mostly the Chinese word tone will shift from second tone to third tone. However, now the Guam Mandarin is slowly diminishing, and currently it is mostly used by the old people community in Guam only. This is due to the language education standardization policy implemented in Malaysia's primary and secondary school in 1982. It is very sad to see this happening because Guam Mandarin is started from school and now it is dying because of school. Since then, Guam Mandarin has been labeled as wrong, and the old people were ashamed to speak this good Mandarin to their grandchildren because they are afraid the bad effects might cause to them. From the case of diminishing Guam Mandarin, this raised the awareness of protecting the endangered language because of the language relates us to our ancestral wisdom, traditions, and culture and human relations. According to the research, Malaysia was the home of 138 of different tongues. However, the home of different tongues are now turning into the graveyard of the slowly dying languages. Standardization of languages policy implemented is the main cause of the current situations, where the idea of speaking only the standard language was carried along by the student to their daily life, and hence more native tongues are rarely used again. This raises a question that why when we are getting more civilized, we become less tolerant. This can be seen from the Singapore Speak Mandarin policy that are adopted by Malaysia's Chinese community, where they promote the speaking of the native tongue by the student are prohibited in school compound. But Malaysia is also experiencing the case of mother tongue shifting to more dominant languages, where some families started to train their kids as standard language speakers since young, which create a gap between the grandchild and grandparents. Besides, in East Malaysia, some indigenous families also shifting their tongues to Malay due to their parents are so afraid of their children will not catch up with the school educations. Therefore, 3 issues are identified for this project, which are: first, most of the tongues in Malaysia, included Guam Mandarin, are without any documentary system. Second, standardized education create a gap between old and young generation. And the third, which is the mother tongue in modern society, started to shift to dominant languages. And the objective to cater for the issues are: first, to provide a resource center that preserves the local and other state indigenous linguistic and heritage. And second, to provide a place that young generations would actually appreciate their native tongue. And the last one is to provide an argument to modern society whether the shifting of language should progress or reverse in the futures. Due to all these issues, therefore the project called for Indigenous Language Resource Center in order to preserve the Guam Mandarin and other endangered tongues in Malaysia. And the proposed client will be the Institute of Ethnic Study, KITA, an institute focusing on ethnicity and ethnic studies. For the design ideations, the standard language policy can be identified as it strictly impose one language to break away people from their indigenous language. Architecturally, this incident also happens before, where the modernist architectures try to promote the purisms and mass productions in order to break architecture from historical to purely functional. Therefore, to against the standardizations, the concept of postmodern architecture was born to relate us back to our historical architectural value in a new way. Same goes to the language shipment. The society not necessarily have to be fully speaking in their native language. However, it is encouraged that we all will be more open to all kinds of languages and mix our languages in a new way in the future. Thus, the postmodern concept proposed by Charles Yang is studied where he stated that the postmodern architecture is characterized by double coding, which is two or more styles which coexist and self-mockery, and it should concentrate on forms that are derived metaphorically from our mind, body, city context, and natures. For the design aim for this project is to study on double coding concept proposed by Charles Yang, where architecture is invented through codes, languages of architectures, and symbolic architectures. The form of building is derived from the mind of thinking, body, and personality. Hence, the concept of the form for this building is uniformity to multiformity, where the educational language should not prioritize itself by trying to vary other native language. Instead, it should embrace with different kind of language at the same time to achieve unity. Thus, a lot of form making exercises were carried out to research on the form of the building. So for the form development, first form that comes to mind is a rigid cuboid form that symbolizing the current standard language order. The whole standard order is important. It should not be reversed or demolished. The intention here is to understand the standard language also promote in unity of nations, and therefore the form of the order should be cherished. This can be seen from the perspective that overall form of the building is a rigid rectangular form. Next is slightly open for other diversity. However, the current order can be punctured and slightly open to make entry for other diversity. Since the first order here is a cuboid, thus the diversity here can be imagined as the curve that is trying to fuse with the cuboid to achieve unity. This can be seen from the plan, where overall the plan is a rectangular plan, but at the same time, the rigid rectangular plan also making a way for an organic form to integrate with it. The third is to strengthen. To achieve the curve to be filled with the cuboid uniformly, the golden ratio is taken as the reference. This uniformity of the golden ratio is formed by repetition of spiral circle and portrays sense of proximity and alignment. The spiral curve is integrating with the rigid form and hence create a journey to lead the users to the important spaces like roof garden and pebble gardens. The unity then can be celebrated with order and diversity. A timber pole punctured out of the roof reflecting the indigenous pieces try to survive from the modern material. A roof garden is also provided for the user to experience the journey to the freedom. The pebble garden is designed as raw as possible so that to remind people of their indigenous identity. And the spaces also covered up by a dome roof so that to create an echoing or speaking sound. The intention is to encourage people not to ashamed to speak up their native tongue inside this building. The facade design is using perforated Korean panel that the circle holes are slightly open throughout its facades. This indicating the future of our society, whether the people will be more open to the indigenous language or the trend of shifting language will be taken in place in the future. The Korean panel cover up the entire building and act as the double skin facade which creating an in-between spaces among the library and the public plaza. The in-between spaces created in first floor and second floor balcony promotes the interactions of people inside the library and the people located at the plaza. Overall, the spatial planning for this building is that the ground floor acts as the main gathering spaces for communicating in native tongue, and the first floor is mostly the library that stores the knowledge of heritage of different indigenous tongues. Second floor acts as the documentary spaces where all kinds of recording, shooting, and interviewing are happening here. Lastly is the roof gardens, which promotes the freedom for the people to go up there and interact with the Guam town context. To sum up everything, the concept of double coding promotes multivalence is more preferred to univalence, and imagination is more preferred to fancy. Architecture should consider in memory and history because of they are inheritable in DNA, style, and the city, and are more positive catalysts for inventions. Same goes to the languages. Functional standard language is not the only way to unite the whole humanity. Instead, various kinds of other language should be cherished so that to decrease the chances of cultural colonialism in our humanity again. Okay, thank you very much. I think I will pass on to the next presenters.
Right, so I'll be the second presenter for UTM. So let me share my screen. Okay, so hi everyone. I'm Wenshen and I'm a second year architecture student from University Technologi Malaysia. So today I'm going to share about my final presentation, our project, year 2 semester 1 with the topic of designing a food park, Loop of Hope. So Loop of Hope is a food park in way of refreshing the space with the concept of the revitalization. So the food park is aimed to bring in the new life and vitality to the community of Pelajaya, celebrating the essence of our multicultural and yet the unique street food market culture of Malaysia. So Malaysia is indeed known around the world for our multi-ethnic cultural diversity that can be seen through our daily communication and cultural activity as well as our food. So street food has long been a part of our country history. So in this context, street food market will be the main program in this food park. So Malaysian streets are laden with colorful fruits, popular hawker stores, and aromatic smells of variety of local cuisine. We have a lot of food to offer thanks to our colorful cultural background. So located at the Taman Pelajaya, which is in Mukim Pulai, a federal constituency in Johor Bahru, our proposed site is generally a moderately developed residential area, commercial shop house, industrial, and the business area. So facing the north, we can see that we are having residential Taman Pulau Jaya, and facing the south, facing the west are the business shop houses and the residential Taman Pulai Emas, and facing the south, it will direct to a building London Square and direct to a Pesisiran Pulai Jaya Utara 2. So we can see that Taman Pulai Jaya has a large area of residential. So the target user will be the community of Pulau Jaya and Pulai Emas. So they are Malay, Chinese, and Indian coming from all ages of the society. So how does that respond? Firstly, the building orientated facing the north, so that they are easily noticed by the residential area, Taman Pulau Jaya. So for the circulation, the pedestrian traffic design forming a loop which coming from the residential Taman Pulau Jaya, Pulau Emas, and the Jalan Pesisiran Jalan Utara 2. So the hierarchy of the building volume also responds towards the engagement of the building program and its accessibility. So the view is all visible from all directions. So despite having a large area of residential, so there's a lacking of the entertainment and recreation area at the site, resulting in people are less sociable due to the lack of community place. So and hence, this food place has a high potential to be the focal point of the place for people socialization and gathering. So to relate to the site, this food park is designed to be the center of the community in the area, which is a lively and vivid place to interact with. It is also a semi-enclosed typology that emphasizes on openness of the indoor and outdoor, which creating a free and open space between the building and the garden. So the building is designed to be environmental friendly as well. So my design concept of a loop is by linking all the community nearby and connects people in all directions. So this loop also brings a metaphor of the endless liveliness of the community and continue carrying our multicultural for a long time. So my design intention was to create a walkable city in the neighborhood. So as the idea of a walkable city will offers a pedestrian-friendly environment for people to socialize and interact with each other. So as a utopian to purpose people live, work, and socialize in the community, the place is to create a vibrant and lively ambience in the neighborhood. So this is an artwork that I made when exploring my design intent. So obviously it is showing a food park. So you can see that there are food flying in the sky. So we are having food trucks and the street markets latching around. So there are pathway linking to one another and showing the connectivity. So this place, you can see it is enclosed, it's open yet enclosed, and it's a twin within the garden. So you can see that we're having the elements of our multi-ethnic culture. So you can see the lion dance, which represent the ethnic of Chinese, and wow from the Malay, and also the Indian dance represent the Indian. So the most importantly, the message that I want to convey through this artwork is that people is having fun and chatting and relaxing, having social interaction within the community. So just with the aim of this food park is to revitalize and impact new life, new energy, and our multicultural. So here shows some of my design process when studying the circulation and the connectivity between the people and the building itself, linking one another. So the design strategies is based on the building zoning, building performance, and some studies on the human behavior. So firstly, the zoning of the building is divided into three main parts, which are the commercial, leisure, and the pedestrian traffic. So from the ground floor, which are the commercial, for the ground floor, they are an active circulation, followed by a semi-active circulation, and a passive circulation at the green roof. So for the human behavior, for the ground floor, people enjoy buying, selling, and eating, while at the first floor, people looking, observing, and chatting, and the green roof also promotes walking, which they can enjoy the natural view of the surrounding. So next, I'm going to share with you the massing diagram of the design. So the building form starts from an abstract geometry, which is defined as a circle in the site. It is then forming a loop shape that enhances on the connectivity in the community. So the circle is then rotated in 30 degrees and interlocking with each other. So there's also a pocket garden and internal courtyard that shows a great fusions of culture and nature. So the food market is located at a big open space which can be subdivided to different way of creations. So the food park is also a lively and vivid place to interact with while having a sustainable walkable green roof with exposed timber structure in the atrium of the building. So this diagram shows my design process in the form making. I'm just playing around with the rotation of the circle and interlocking that forming an open space in the atrium. So coming up to the side plan, we can see that the building is more focused on the pedestrian pathway. So the orange color pathway is linking from 3 directions and to the residential area. So it clearly shows that the building can be accessed from all directions. And the diagram shows the circulations and vehicle pedestrian movement to access the building. For example, we have the pedestrian traffic that in orange color, and vehicle traffic and the services lane. So about the building program. So for the main program, of course, we will have the street food market and also sitting area, workspace, outdoor social area, and indoor eating area. So the bubble diagram shows how that all the public area like street market, eating area, and workspace are located in the frontage of the building, while the semi-public and the private area are located at the backside of the building. So the site zoning integrates well within the accessibility of the building. For example, like the ground floor, the commercial takes place here as most active part of the building and enables social interaction in the community. For the first floor, people enjoy leisure time chatting and relaxing while wandering around the art market and the lounge area. So at the ground floor, when it comes to the drop-off area, people will directly meet at the atrium, which is an internal courtyard located in the middle of the building. So surrounded the atrium, there are 7 street food market stalls. So at the left side are those food stalls that selling street food, and at the right-hand side are those heavy food area that needs the handles of the cooking. So leading all the way to the end of the street market will be an indoor dining area, where there is also an outdoor eating area provided near to the main entrance of the building. So behind this eating area will be the private and service area like toilet and loading unloading bay. There's also a service entrance coming from the backside of the building. So coming up to the first floor, we will first meet a sitting and a lounge area that enable people to enjoy the ambience and the vibe of the food market in the middle of the void, which is also the internal courtyard. So along the corridor, there are some vendor art market stalls to visit, while leading all the way to an indoor mini workspace. So as the same layout of the ground floor, behind this timber cladding, we have some private space such as office security room, surau, and a mini courtyard. So beside this main staircase, there will be a steel timber staircase that leads to the upper workable roof. So this is the main facade of the building. They're facing the north and the west. So you can see that the main program will be the eating area, outdoor eating area, and the open space of the street market. So next is the sectional cut of the building. So we can appreciate like the internal courtyard and also the open space for the street food market and the walkable roof as well, which the timber steel staircase leading to the upper walkable roof. Passive design also implemented to optimize the spatial planning and orientation to control solar gains and maximize the lighting in the design. So the cross ventilation occurs through the large window and the vertical louvers from both sides of the building. So the stack ventilation also occurs in the core of the building, which the atrium having the open courtyard. The timber vertical louvers also shade the buildings from the sunlight as well. So for the sustainable walkable green roof, a minimum of green roof is adopted and help to improve the air qualities so that the people can enjoy the natural view of the surrounding. So these are the strain grain single slope curved roof also adopted as it could drain the water effectively. So a simple grain metal sheet roofing was used as the roof materials. As for the roof structure, the hyperbolic form of the roof was generated through an algorithm geometry and can be constructed through a glue-laminated curved beam with the concealed beam hanger connections. So the exposed timber roof structure is covering the central outdoor patio, creates an enclosed platform integrating an internal courtyard within the building. So it expresses the beauty of a wood and gives a strong sense of warmth and refinement to the building itself. So this is the exploded diagram of the building, showing the structure of the timber constructions. So we can see that there are timber beam, posts, and rafter, timber joints, steel bracing, and metal sheet roofing. And also, these are some parts of the details drawing. So basically, the application of a new construction technique onto the fusion between the glulam timber construction and the conventional timber construction has become the strategy of this project. So for example, we have the conventional timber flooring and post and beam structure. While for the glulam, we have the beam to column connection with a concealed beam hanger. This is the timber cladding that covers the facade and portrays a rhythm in design and creates a sense of harmony to the building. So the exposed timber ceiling beam in the warm tone wood gives the space a cozy and inviting feel, which also draw the eye up and add character to the building. So besides being a food park, this Lubahop is acting as a community place for people's social interactions. So the food park intertwined with nature in the most subtle way and existing codependently. So this overall site was defined as the outer boundary of the food park, and I tried to maximize the open public space as much as possible while retaining the functionality of the interior space. So the building also emphasized on the openness of indoor and outdoor, integrating with the nature at the same time. So this floating corridor becomes a continuous, yes, a fluid element that held the space together. So to accommodate the low height difference of the entrance, the roof was lowered at the entrance and forming a hierarchy from an open street market to a private workspace area. So this is my presentation board, which the foundation of this architecture design is the respect towards the local culture, which I took the timber construction into fully consideration. So what I am working towards was to revitalize the area and celebrating the essence of our multicultural and yet the unique street food market culture of Malaysia. So Loop of Hope is aimed to reshape the social culture of community in Putrajaya and building up the liveliness in the community. So I will end my presentation here with a short animation video, and thank you for listening, and I hope you enjoy today. So let me reshare the video again.
Thank you, Ms. Said Wenzwan, on your presentation about revitalizing food park in Taman Pulau Jaya, Johor, celebrating the essence of local cultural diversity and at the same time we're thinking about future sustainability. Right. I would like to invite our third presenter, Mr. AHNAF SAMSURY. His project title is Nasi Lemak House of Kampung Baru. The room is yours, Mr. AHNAF. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Zura. Can you hear me? Okay, I will share my slide. Okay. Assalamualaikum and good afternoon and good morning to the all panelists and my friend. Today, my name is Anabi Samsuri. I will be presenting my thesis project titled Nasi Lemak House of Kampung Baru. So this thesis supervised by Dr. Sharifah Salwa Sheikh Mazhar. So first, I will explain about my previous master plan proposal idea and my mini master plan proposal. The big idea behind my previous master plan is halaman. Halaman means like a yard of the house. So today Kampung Baru still retains some of the Malay houses, but the feel of kampung is not there anymore. The feel of kampung is not about image of Malay village, but it is about being able to socialize everywhere, to feel safe within their neighborhood. So that's why I choose halaman as my big idea, because it is a favorite space and in the kampung. It is private, public, and can be flexible. In this master plan, the halaman are divided into 5 categories. The first one is halaman temu, about public social space. The second one is halaman warisan, is about heritage and tourism. The third one is about is halaman suku, is about neighborly social space. The fourth one is halaman jamu, about food celebration, where my project is located. Finally, is halaman alam, is about nature. Now we go into my mini master plan proposal. My big concept for this mini master plan is from street to the table. The street symbolizes the mini master plan and the table symbolizes the Nasi Lemak house. So the first strategy of my mini master plan is halaman jamu experience trail. As you can see, there is a lot of activity related to the food culture along Jalan Raja Muda Musa and also Jalan Raja Alang, whereas my project is located. Thus, this strategy should be highlighted and it can be integrated into my building. So the second strategy is to redesign the street and parklet. Some street in Kampung Baru is not well designed, and some of them is filled with the car park. So we can improve and complement the street activity. As you can see, these are 3 design configuration of street parklet that I did, and they designed according to the business that exists in halaman jamu. The first one is service business, the second one is F&B business, and the third one is retail business. The final mini master plan strategy is the pocket space design. After I did our urban study, we found out that there are some unutilized area and some of them are filled with car parks. The idea is to redesign the space and recreate a space that can be used for the street hawkers. And this is, as you can see, this is the design development of the pocket space design. So this is the overall mini master plan that cover the location of the street parklet design and the location of pocket space design. And then this is the asymmetric view of the mini master plan. Now we go into my design scheme, which is Nasi Lemak house. So my site is located in Jalan Raja Alang. The size is around 1.2 acres, and current use is parking lot and an empty lot. And the owner is Yasin Terengganu, UTM, and Haji Sharum. The current status for this land is Rundingan Tiada Pemaju. It means there is a plan to develop this land, but there's no proposal and there's no developer to develop this land. And this is the view of the site. So why I choose nasi lemak? Nasi lemak is is a national dish of Malaysia, and so this is the reason I choose my nasi lemak as my building idea. I did a study on the Malay food culture in Kampung Baru. I asked what are the main attraction in Kampung Baru that attract the visitor to go there. 90% of them answer food, and then I ask again what kind of food that they remember the most and make them want to try again. Like 50% of them answer nasi lemak. So from this study, we can see that nasi lemak give an impact to the food culture in Kampung Baru, and it is opportunity to highlight the nasi lemak in my project. Another study that I did is about food experience in Kampung Baru. Like 80% of the visitor experience the food culture through the taste, and 50% experience to the smell, and 40% experience to the sight watching, and only like 3% of them answer the experience to the food demonstrating. So it showed that this kind of experience need to be highlighted more in Kampung Baru food culture. So as summary from the urban study and site survey, I come up with my social issue and urban issue. The first one is the social issue is less access to the food culture learning. And then the second one is lack of exposure and access to the nasi lemak making knowledge. And the third one is lack of food district image of Kampung Baru. For the architectural issue, the first one is lack of facilities and space for the food learning. The second one is existing development architecture style is not reflect to the Kampung Baru environment. And then the last one is less integration between existing street design with the existing building. So this is my research aim, my research objective. My aim is to build a significant building for the local tourists and foreign tourists as well as Kampung Baru community in response to lack of exposure, food culture learning facility and lack of food image in Kampung Baru. So the objective are, the first one is to revitalize Kampung Baru food district environment. The second one is to educate general public tourists on the importance of food learning. The third one is to reinterpret the food learning process through the living gallery and exhibition space. So this is the proposed client and also the target user. And then this is the building program. There are three main building program that in my building. The first one is Nasi Lemak Living Gallery. The second one is Nasi Lemak Exhibition and Gallery. And then the last one is Nasi Lemak Research and Training Center. Now let's go into my external and internal planning idea. So this is the site plan diagram. I start with the view, how I appreciate the view, surrounding view. For example, this is the food street view. And then next one is connectivity, how I connect my building with the food street activities. And then the next one is the public and private space, how I arrange the spaces. And then next one is accessibility. And then I also like use the grid and order concept to rearrange the spaces. And the final strategy is to put greenery in the middle of my building. The next one is the diagram, exploration diagram, the massing exploration diagram. I start with the rough massing that I created. Then I created the green spine in the middle of the massing, and I also try to play with the hierarchy of the space. After that, I introduced the nasi lemak forming, which is the like a pyramid and pyramid shape, and also I introduced the layering of the layering concept, how the packaging of nasi lemak looks like. And finally, I try to play with the solid and void. So this is the frontage of the frontage view from the Jalan Raja Alang. So this is the my first design approach is food learning through the living gallery. Living gallery is a place that recreate the fullest extent condition of the culture, natural environment, or historical period. For my project, the living gallery is nasi lemak making, nasi lemak preparation, and nasi lemak warung. So the people can learn about raw ingredient preparation, kitchen activities, preparation activities, and they can learn these activities through the observation and dialogue. And finally, they can taste the nasi lemak in at the end of this at the end of their journey. My second design approach is food learning through the exhibition narrative. There are 3 exhibitions that I want to highlight. The first one is Nasi Lemak Kampung Baru History, tells about history of Nasi Lemak. The second one is Nasi Lemak Evolution, tells about evolution of Nasi Lemak. And the third one is Nasi Lemak World, where visitor can learn about Nasi Lemak variation around Malaysia and in Indonesia and Singapore. Other than that, in this design approach, I also implemented the diversity of exhibition load to make the exhibition more interesting and prevent the exhibition burnout among the visitor. The next design approach is application of Malay house concept that enhance the food learning atmosphere. As we know that Nasi Lemak is origin from the Malay food culture, so the idea is to bring back the atmosphere setting where the Nasi Lemak started. The final design approach that I use in my design is using visual graphic analysis (VGA) to analyze how visible my building towards the visitor, especially on the ground level, which is the living gallery. These are the design process of my ground floor plan. At the first layout, we can see that the layout is not well visible, especially in the internal layout where living gallery is located. The second layout, you can see it is improved from the first layout, but the entrance in the halaman Nasi Lemak is less visible. And then finally, from the final layout, we can see that the plan is well visible, especially at the entrance and then the halaman Nasi Lemak. At the same time, the internal layout of this layout also very well visible. So in my internal design framework, there are 4 parts in my in this design framework. The first one is welcoming part, and then the second one is living gallery. The third part is food learning exhibition, and the last one is about training and research center. This is another frontage of view from Jalan Raja Alang. The view of entrance of my Nasi Lemak building. And then this is the ground floor plan. The visitor will start at the welcoming entrance, and then they go to the they will start at the welcoming entrance and halaman Nasi Lemak, and then there is a lobby and waiting area. After that, the visitor will go to the part 2 of the part 2 of the building, which is living gallery. There is Nasi Lemak making gallery and Nasi Lemak preparation, and then finally there is Nasi Lemak warung and testing area at this ground floor. And then for the first floor plan, there will be the exhibition. The first exhibition is Nasi Lemak Kampung Baru and History, and then there will be exhibition 2, which is Nasi Lemak Evolution. After that, there is Nasi Lemak, the exhibition 3, Nasi Lemak World. At the end of the exhibition, the visitor will go through the viewing box where the visitor can see from above the process of Nasi Lemak preparation. And then in the second floor, plan will be the training center and research center, where the training room located, and there's also an event kitchen studio and a cinema stage. And then this is the the third floor plan, include the food research center and food laboratory. And then this is the perspective of Nasi Lemak making gallery and Nasi Lemak production and how it works. In Nasi Lemak making gallery, visitor can experience about raw ingredient sorting and preparation, and also they can know how Nasi Lemak being cooked. While in Nasi Lemak preparation, visitor can learn about Nasi Lemak elements and how to wrap the Nasi Lemak. And also these are the some of the food sense that happening in this space. Next, we go into Nasi Lemak Warung, where the visitor can have their Nasi Lemak tasting here and experience how the Malay eating culture, and they also can chit chat with the local in this warung. The next one is Nasi Lemak. The next space is Halaman Nasi Lemak, where the visitor can learn about Nasi Lemak plants knowledge, and they experience the atmosphere of Kampung Halaman. So these are the perspective of exhibition. The first exhibition is Nasi Lemak History and Kampung Baru, Nasi Lemak History and Kampung Baru. And the next one is exhibition about Nasi Lemak Evolution. And then so you can see how the exhibition works. And then the next is exhibition 3 and 4, which is Nasi Lemak World and the viewing box of the Nasi Lemak process. This is the side elevation, show how my building looks like with the context. And then another side elevation. And then this is Nasi Lemak stage where the event can be happening. And then some of the seasonal exhibition in this area. And then this is the structure system. Mainly I use the glue lamp system, and some of the part is using the cast in situ system. And then this is the rainwater harvesting system that show how it works, the diagram, and also the calculation of the rainwater harvesting. And then the final one, the final part is about landscape idea. There are two landscape idea that I want to implement. The first one is based on halaman rumah, which is about a tropical garden. And then the second idea is about landscape idea based on the nasi lemak ingredient. For example, the banana tree, coconut, ginger, cucumber, and onion, and also pandan. And as conclusion, Nasi Lemak House would be a great addition to Kampung Baru Urban Fabric, offering much additional character to the food district, which is Halaman Jamu, and food culture of Kampung Baru. So the building overall design, which combine living gallery and exhibition space, might help to improve the food learning experience to the local and tourist experience. Finally, the Nasi Lemak House could be a significant building in Kampung Baru and can be food image in Kampung Baru. I think that's all for me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. AHNAF SAMSURY, for your presentation on Nasi Lemak House, looking at possibilities to improve the food learning experience for the locals and tourists in Kampung Baru, Kuala Lumpur. Yeah, I think we come to our Q&A session. So I would like to invite Engineer Architect Radek Toman for some feedbacks and questions to the presenters.
Yes, I have a question, maybe like more practical question. Yeah, to the second presenter, SAIK XUAN. I don't know if I pronounce it well. Yeah. So if I understand well, you are the second year architecture student, right?
Yes. Yes.
So yeah. So yeah, for me like for second year architecture student, it's a really good project. Yeah? I can see that there's a lot of work what is done. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I have maybe a comment for the first presenter. Yeah, I really like the project with and the concept of this box and the organic shape inside. Yeah, and the circular library. But maybe what I would like to see in the presentation is also some pictures or some pictures of the context of the building, the building surrounding and these things, because for me it's really difficult to for me it's really difficult to make some kind of image of the site if because I don't know Malaysia too much. I have never been there, and it for me it will be also good if you put some pictures from the site and explain the site a little bit more. Yeah, because from the presentation it seems that it's a really nice building, but I can imagine that there is some car park around, and that's it. Yeah, I don't have any other information about the surrounding of the building. What will be good to also present. Yeah, it's just a small thing. The building is really beautiful, but if you put also this one into the presentation, it will be better. I think that's from me. And can I ask which year of study are you? Like, are you third or second year or fourth year?
Me?
Oh yeah, the first presenter. I don't remember the name. Sorry.
Totally.
I'm third year.
Third year. Perfect. Okay.
Third year. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so shall I comment or shall I try to comment?
Yes, please. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so for the first presenter, which was Lee, I have to say that the presentation was very well structured. It was really one of the best presentations that I've seen this year, I think. So the structure of the presentation was, I would say, perfect, very well explained, very clear, and so on. I also like the this collision of the outer shape of the box and the organic like internals. I think it's something that produces interesting spaces inside maybe. What I'm not sure about is but maybe it's just a side note. I'm not sure if golden ratio is necessarily maybe a good concept for the plans. I'm not sure. Maybe I would need to explain why the golden ratio thing, the spiral, is somehow good thing to conceive ground floors. Maybe I can understand it with the facade because it's more like visual or graphical thing. So maybe we can argue that it is somehow pleasant for the human eye, but I'm not sure about it in the ground plan because your project was like extremely rationally explained. I would say it was very, this is this clear presentation and step by step explained what you meant by that. But with the golden ratio, this seems to me a little bit esoteric in a way, so maybe I would need to explain why golden ratio is a good thing to conceive a ground plan on. This is what I would like to understand better. Also, maybe this is for all presentations. I had always, at one moment, I always had to ask myself what, this like more or less philosophical question, what architecture can really achieve, what is achievable by architecture, because in every presentation there was maybe, you started with questions like that or maybe theses, like sub-theses, that you would like to bridge gap maybe between old and young, I guess, or to provide a space for maybe contemplating, now and I'm not precise enough, for contemplating if to reverse this like generalization of the language back to more like separate languages and so on. So I always had it, or in another presentation, it was, what was it? It was like, there was, for example, that people should have fun, and I had always this like question, can this architecture really achieve? But right after that, right after this doubt, I was somehow convinced that at least at some points it is possible. For example, in your case, there was some clash maybe of languages of architecture. It was the building itself is very modernist, and then inside you have this like indigenous feeling. So I think you somehow managed to connect the like human language with the language of architecture, which is of course also connected to the theories of Charles Jenks and others and so on. So I think at one moment it was somehow convincing, but I just would like to pose this question really, what architecture can really achieve, because this is in a way my own question, which I'm asking in every project, what architecture can do or cannot do. Yes. Okay, so this would be maybe my comment for the first project. So I don't know if you want to react, Lee, as well.
To answer about the golden ratio is actually,
maybe golden ratio.
Yeah,
Let's go with the golden ratio.
It's the story can be like start from the design process. At initial, I haven't taken any golden ratio to be part of my design. So the idea is just a box, then you have plenty of organic shape. Then the organic shape is not uniformly. It's just like, you know, kind of free flow. But you know, after that, we discussed with my work-based master. He said that, you know, when you have a kind of free fall of the curve and the structures will actually destroy the language you want to, how to say, to convey. So later on, because my concept is also to like use the standard language and the indigenous language there, so that they can fuse together to achieve unity. So the design process is kind of like how I make this looks right. So I go on search on internet, as search on box and curve, then blends very well. Then I get the result is golden ratio. Then I just apply it. Then I how to say, kind of experience is journeys. So I think later on I think it feels right for the building. So I just move on with the golden ratios curves. Yeah.
Okay. So okay, thanks a lot. So I'll try to comment on the second project, which was SAIR. Is it okay to pronounce it that way? Hopefully. So yeah, I have to start with the same comment as Radek. Actually, for the second year student, it was extremely well elaborated project, even like technically, you know, visually and so on. So it was in a way very complex and very well elaborated for the second year student. So well done. Actually, what I liked also about this project, you know, in every presentation we have seen that the concepts were based on diagrams, basically. So every project started to build up, you know, from diagrams, which is basically spatial concepts, because this is what diagram does. It somehow establishes relationships in the space, and from that the projects were built. But in this project, what was also somehow maybe not explicitly said, but it was understood from the pictures, that there was also a, you know, material concept and concept of maybe a feeling of the space that was built up through usage of materials, you know, and more like not spatial but like phenomenological maybe things that weren't explicitly presented, but I think they were there. So, you know, usage of wood, usage of form, usage of maybe distribution of the spaces, and more like a question, how do I feel in that space, than how that space really like works in a sense of diagram and relationships of maybe movement of the people and so on. So this is what I think was also present in the project, and that I very much appreciated. So not only the diagrammatical like conceivement of the whole thing with the ellipses and spirals, but also the feeling of the thing itself, you know, the usage of the materials. So there was a good connection of those things, which I very much appreciate. What I didn't miss that much the surrounding in the first project as Radek did, but I missed it especially in this project, in the second project, because as I understood from the master plan, it is in the middle of like traffic routes. So there were like two motorways going down, at least one motorway like in horizontal direction, and I'm not sure what was on the north, if it was oriented right, but as I understood, it is in the middle of the traffic, of the car traffic, and I'm not sure, but this was my feeling, and that's why what I would expect that there would be, and I know that for the second year student it might be too much, you know, because the project itself was really a huge amount of work. But what I would like to see, to understand it fully, is how did you deal, or how you dealt with the surroundings. So how you deal that you have this pavilion in the middle of the traffic, you know, and it could be dealt through greenery, I don't know, through orientation of the whole thing. So I would like to see the relationship of the pavilion, of how it is oriented, how it is organized to its surrounding, to understand how do you deal with traffic. But maybe, I don't know, you tell me, maybe the traffic is not the problem, but this was my feeling, that that we have seen, you know, these nice visualization and renders of the pavilion without the traffic. And I would like to zoom out a little bit and see the traffic in the picture. But you tell me, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the traffic is not the problem in the surrounding. Sair.
Yes, yeah, the site is actually yeah, the surrounding is actually full with the traffic. The traffic is always busy. Yeah, because yeah, it is near to the residential area and the shop houses. So yeah, maybe maybe in next semester I would like to get a bigger picture of the surrounding, like for the traffic. Yeah, thank you for the advice.
Okay, perfect. So, and the third project, do we have still time? I don't know. So I'll try to be fast. Yeah, with the third project. Yeah, I think it actually reminds me. I have some experience from Austria, and it reminded me about you know, the experience from Austria. You know, how the form was shaped through again through this diagrammatical thinking. So this was very much what I've learned in Austria when I was younger and I was working in Austria. I have here. I have again here. I had this question like what architecture can do. You know, because there was there was this like what was it? Sorry, it was the third thing. That there is like lack of, you demonstrate how the local food is made. You know, this was this like 3%, and there is like lack of it. So, you know, at the end, I got again convinced that it is like possible to do this with architecture, like demonstrate how the food is done, and maybe to provide for more like understanding how local food is produced or cooked through this like visibility concept. So this was, I think, for me the most important like thing. I would call it a visibility project, how I can show how things work and are done and so on in the small scale of the window of these cabins, and also in the bigger scale of the whole building and so on. So this is what I think is really interesting. If I may be a little bit critical, then I think it would be more interesting to not pose this as a problem, but because when you say, you know, there is a lack something, then suddenly it is a problem, and I think it is somehow limiting to always frame things as a problem. Sometimes it is necessary because it is a problem. Sometimes, I don't know, whatever, traffic, you know, I don't know, some ecological stuff, it might be a problem. But sometimes it is maybe it might be, it is just my experience, it is just my intuition and feeling that sometimes it is better not to frame things as a problem, but simply to say, hey, my idea is to show how the cooking process works. And then you are not framing it as a problem, that there is luck, you know, there is only 3% how the food is produced. But when you say, hey, I would like to show, this is my concept, take it or leave it, but I think this is a good concept, I would like to show you how the food is produced, and then it's not a problem. And I think it can somehow generate some other things also besides the visibility concept. Because in this project, you know, in comparison, for example, with the second project, I felt some disconnection between this idea of visibility and then the feeling and the usage of the materials and so on. I would like to see maybe more elaboration on the visibility concept. Is perfect, it's good, I think it works and so on, and it was convincing for me. But then maybe the form, materials and so on, I would like to see more like idea how I can connect visibility concept, the food, and so on. And again, this like phenomenological like idea, how do I perceive things, but with my full body, not only with eyes, you know, like what materials are used and why, and what it somehow, what emotions it produce in me, and how it is connected to this visibility concept. So I would like to see more this like maybe more soft, you know, not that well arguable, but in terms of architecture, extremely important thing. How do I feel? Not only what I see in those spaces, but how do I feel in those spaces? What are the emotions that I want to produce in connection to my concept? So this is what I maybe would like to. This is my recommendation maybe for the project.
Thank you for the recommendation.
Okay. So sorry, maybe it was too long, so I quit now.
That's fine, no problem. Okay, thank you to both Engineer Architect Radek Toman and also Engineer Architect Jan Kristek for your feedback and questions to the presenters. I think that is very, very interesting feedbacks and very useful for the students, for them to improve in the future in the design. Okay, I think we can probably proceed to the next presentation. So can we have our first presenter from Brno University of Technology, Mr. Onde VALEK, with his project title Company for Health. The room is yours, Mr. Onde. Thank you.
You. Okay, so can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So hello, my name is Onde VALEK. I'm in my first year of master's here at BUT, and I would like to tell you something about a studio that I've participated last semester. It's called Gross Domestic Architecture. The name of the studio is, of course, from Gross Domestic Product, which was the main topic of our studio. Well, not exactly the gross domestic product itself, but we take a look what area has the most share in gross domestic product of Czech Republic. And it's, as you might can tell from this graph, it's industry and logistics. So we take a look at these infrastructures and buildings that were built or are built just for the purpose of industry and logistic. Specifically, we take a look at this city park industry area here at Brno, which is quite large. Here you can tell this is a map of Brno, and the whole industry area of city park is as large or maybe even larger than the whole historic city center of Brno itself. So, and because there's I would say no discussion at all about these industry areas, industry parks, we wanted to tackle this topic a little bit. So we went there for our analysis for the first weeks, and I've noticed immediately that the whole area is, I would say, abandoned all the time during the day and even during the night. And when I found out that my brother-in-law actually works in one of these companies that are in City Park, I've asked him if there's any moment during the day or during the night where there would be people outside. And he told me that, yes, actually there are 3 times during the day. And that's because most of the company works in 3-shift operation schedule. There's a time when there's a shift change that happens in 6 a.m., 2 p.m. and 10 p.m. And there's during those times there's hundreds or maybe even thousands of people coming into the work and from the work. So I got interested in that. I went there for a couple of times to observe the the shift changes, what's happening during them. And since we were supposed to make a documentary about the topic that we are interested in, I've decided to get in touch with this Daikin company. That's one of the company in the city park, and made some interview with the employees, with the managers, and yeah. Now I will show you the documentary that I've made about it.
Ing.Arch Republic je firma v černošských terasách. Aktuálně máme něco okolo 1100-1150 zaměstnanců.
Na ranní směně je to kolem 500. Na té ranní směně je tu nejvíc lidí, protože tady jsou kanceláře a některé linky jedou pouze na jednu směnu. Takže v jednom momentu kolem 500.
U nás ti lidi mají klasicky 160, cca 160 hodin měsíčně. Vycházíme z tradičního modelu České republiky, to znamená od 6 do 14 hodin ranní, 14:22 odpolední, 22:06 ráno noční. S tím, že tohle zároveň reflektuje MHDčko, zároveň to reflektuje nejčastější modely všech okolních firm. No, to už je tradiční český systém. Je rozdíl mezi západoevropskou, východoevropskou, východoazijskou legislativou. To už záleží na místních lokálních podmínkách.
Nás řídí výrobní plán. My vyrábíme podle počtu výroby, potřebujeme nějaký počet zaměstnanců a potřebujeme nějaký počet směn, záleží jak kde. Takže je to takový jako centrální nějaký řízení. Každá linka má nějakou kapacitu. On ví na té lince, kolik potřebuje vyrobit, aby splnil ten výrobní plán. Ví, kolik lidí. Když řeknu třeba na jedné lince, že má 4 lidi, tak ví, že má kapacitu za směnu třeba 600 kusů, a když potřebuje vyrobit 700 nebo 750, tak by potřeboval třeba 4,3 člověka, to nejde, takže musí mít 5, ale zbytek té jeho práce potřebuje zase využít někde jinde. Je to takový komplikovaný. Jsme japonská firma a hodně se opěčíme po Toyota, po té PCA systému. My máme PDS, Production of Daikin System, a počítá se prostě každá sekunda pohyb operátora strike zóny, aby to tak bylo takzvaně vybalancované, aby ten operátor byl využitý všecek jeho čas.
Česká legislativa pro nás chce, aby jsme těm lidem dali pauzu po...
hodiny. Mají nárok po 4 odpracovaných hodinách, mají nárok na půl hodiny.
A my tady zaručujeme, že po každých 2 hodinách mají 8minutovou pauzu navíc. Toalet, kuřár, kantýna. Podle jejich preference, pak zase 2 hodiny pracují, pak mají, jak to spočítá správně, od 6 do 8 mají 8minutovku, pak mají 2 hodiny práce, zhruba podle toho, která linka, je půlhodinová pauza a pak je konec směny.
Daikin je výjimečný v tom, to jsem ještě nikdy nezažil teda, že přímo zaměstnavatel podporuje kouření, protože to řídí vlastně Japonci, oni jsou sami kuřáci. A oni nám dali normálně 2 8minutové pauzy na cigáro, že si člověk může jít normálně zapálit, jo, v klidu nikdo ho nebude nahánět. A je to placený, ta pauza.
Firma pro zdraví, obecná certifikace, která nám dokazuje to, že firma má opravdu starost o ty lidi, že opravdu se snažíme, aby tady bylo bezpečné prostředí, work-friendly environment. Standardní to úplně není, na Jižní Moravě jsme byli jedni z prvních, co to dostali.
Ranní, noční, odpolední, mám teď rotaci. Ranní, noční, odpolední. Je to vždycky po týdnu, ale třeba stalo se mi, když jsem dělal ještě v té staré práci těch 5 let, že to na mě vyšlo tak například, kluci byli nemocní a byli tam nějaký dovolený a potřebovali kam si jezdit, tak jsem měl 3 týdny noční po sobě. A už bych to v životě nechtěl, protože jak jsem byl zvyklý vlastně přes den spát a v noci být vzhůru, tak než jsem si to přehodil do toho, jak to je normálně, tak to trvalo tak dlouho, že jsem myslel, že už jsem nějaký, že už to prostě nepůjde, že jsem nějaký bloklej, nebo já nevím. Bylo to fakt jako extrém, musím říct. Jo, i když takhle, když o tom mluvím, tak jako to tak extrémně nevypadá, ale opravdu, když jsem to zažíval, tak jako bylo to hodně nepříjemné.
Jako ono to, že si každý ten týden musí člověk zvyknout na trošku něco jiného, není úplně ideální. No. Někdo to snáší líp, já to myslím snáším celkem dobře.
Pokud nebudeme fungovat jako jedna společnost, nikam to nedotáhneme. Obecně i v manuálu napsané, jsme jedna společnost, která se skládá z více oddělení, které spolu prostě musí spolupracovat a táhnout za jeden pro vás.
Jako moc mi nevyhovuje odpolední, protože ta odpolední je trošku, řekněme, sociálně limitující.
Nemůžeme nahlížet na firmu jako jednotlivce nebo na jednotlivého člena, na firmu se nahlíží jako na obrovskou skupinu, která prostě spolu musí spolupracovat a pokud jeden proces selže celek.
Když mám odpolední, tak se moc nemůžu žádných sociálních akcí zúčastnit. Ve čtvrtek chodím v Žabovřeskách do sboru na mši. A vždycky kytarový mše. Takže jednou za 3 týdny třeba nemůžu. No.
Okay, so that was the documentary movie, and now if we have time, I would like to show you a short animation of my project as well.
The Daikin company works with a 3-shift operation schedule. The morning shift is from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., the afternoon shift is from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., and the night shift lasts from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. On each shift, there's around 300 employees in the production department. Each shift is 8 hours long and includes a 30-minute lunch break, which is required by Czech Republic's laws. Beside the lunch break, each employee from the production department 8-minute shift. The most common thing to do is sit and smoke. For non-smokers, there are more options. They can either stay inside and sit next to the loud machines, where they would use their smartphones, or they can use the relax zone in the canteen, mostly for the same purpose. Sadly, this is not possible for everyone. Since the warehouse is quite large and everyone works in a different place, the time that is required to get outside or to the canteen differs from worker to worker. For example, just getting to the canteen can take you from 50 seconds to almost 3 minutes. With these short breaks, this makes a big difference, so the canteen is usable only for the people that work near it. Although adding another 16 minutes of free time to the mandatory 30-minute lunch break doesn't seem as much, this costs the company a few bucks. With around 300 employees on each shift and 3 shift operations, it all adds up to 5,000 hours of breaks each month, which costs the company around 1.5 million Czech crowns per month. At first glance, 8 minutes isn't enough time to do something more beneficial besides scrolling through the newsfeed on your phone or so. But everyday repetition turns these breaks into a great opportunity. 2 times 8 minutes per shift, that's 16 minutes per day, 1 hour and 20 minutes per week, 5 to 6 hours per month, and 67 hours per year. So how could these breaks be more beneficial? By utilizing an existing free space that is much closer to everyone, the time spent on a break is increased. This space also creates an opportunity for new various activities, which will upskill the workers and make their current job more enjoyable. The workers will be able to learn new skills, which will allow them to do a better job, or simply just relax for a while. Since the upskilling allows the workers to do different and more complex types of work, this approach is more beneficial not only for the worker, but for the employer as well. Above that, this new structure allows the utilization of noise from the machines, which can generate electricity. The rainwater from the roof can be collected in water reservoirs above the machines so they don't have to waste clean water from the city water line. Warehouses are typically focused mainly on function, which is mostly the company's profit. Focusing on the workers as well as on the profit might result in benefits for the workers and the company.
Okay, so thank you for your attention. That's everything from me.
Right. Thank you, Mr. VALEK, for your very interesting presentation and documentation on the 8 minutes break working shift environment in your project of Company for Health. So I think we can invite our second presenter from Brno University, which is Ms. ACH-HUBNER. Sorry? Yes?
Sorry. Can we make a change that now there will be TATIANA UHRIKOVA because she has another class after the meeting. So
Yeah, sure.
if she can go now, it will be better. Yeah.
Sure, no problem. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Hello once again. My name is Tatiana and I'm in the second year of my master studies. And I'm happy to share a project with you today. we made a project in the first year of my master studies, also with my colleague from our faculty. So let me share. Okay, can you see the screen, please?
Yes, we can see it.
Thank you. And when I have a chance to speak, maybe I will have to leave a little bit earlier. So I would like to say that all the projects I've seen so far from your faculty are amazing. Like the work that you have done behind the project, it's huge and it's visible. And those projects are maybe the most complex I've seen so far. So thank you for sharing. And especially the second project, I really love the graphic design and also the way you present it. So yeah, it was very nice. Thank you. And from my side, my project is called Reconversion of Refused. It's about the old faculty of sciences in Olomouc in the city of Czech Republic. Maybe I would introduce you first to the short history. You can see the Schwarzplan, the map of the Olomouc city. Here you can see the historical core of the center. And here, marked with the pink, you can see the location where the project is placed. Maybe some brief words about the city itself. It's very famous city for its universities, its statutory city, and it's one of the biggest cities in Czech Republic. If to speak about the location where the building itself is placed, the location it's called Hejčín. We can say that it's placed on the suburbs of the city. So you can see from this schema that the building is surrounded by family housing and also by several schools. This is the school for disabled kids. Here's another elementary school, and here's the secondary school. So the community in the part of the city is quite strong, and the schools and the core of the location is quite important for the community of locals. And unfortunately, they are lacking the space where they can meet together, where they can gather. So that was also the issue to solve for us. So here's the map. You can see the placement of the building, which is existing. So you can see that it's really the core of the location. And unfortunately, nowadays it's abandoned, which we consider as a pity. And you can see the picture of the building here. And it's considered as the ugliest building in the whole city. And we really don't think so. It's just a bit different. And the city office, they really don't know what to do with such a huge building in a small part of the city. So our task was also to persuade them or to convince them to do something with abandoned building, and also to prove that there is still a chance to use it somehow. It doesn't need to be demolished because, as you can see, the current state of the building, it's not that bad. Like, I mean, it's a bad condition, but we still think that you can find very valuable elements inside. And also the organization of the space inside is working quite well. Maybe the short history about the building. The building itself was established in 1987 as the first part of the campus, which was meant to build there. You can see it here that the building has maybe a bit weird form from outside, that here this facade is completely blinded or only with several openings, and it was meant to build an extension in the same design as the existing one. So there should be a campus, but the plan failed, unfortunately. So this is the only one volume that is standing there at the moment. So here you can see the interior of the building. It was also used as a training ground for the police forces. So you can find very, very interesting things inside, such as empty bullets and so on. So here you can see how it was developed through time. And as we went through analysis part, we found out that the location is lacking a few basic services. And also there is a huge problem with traffic because these two roads are the roads which are leading to the city center and are very densely used at the moment. So we didn't want to add a function that will make this problem even worse. And the second part of the analysis process was that we also found out that unfortunately in the region of the city there is a huge percentage or a huge number of households, of families that are in any kind of need. It can be financial need, it can be housing need. So you can see the number. So for example, this 33,000 is the number for households which are based on a single parent and has at least one child and are searching for accommodation. And maybe nowadays it's even more accurate because the situation we have in Europe can also affect this crisis of housing. So the building itself can be also used for this purpose. Here you can see the schemas for the design process. So the basic idea was to keep as much as possible from the existing structure. So we try to achieve as much as possible for as little money as possible. And we also wanted to create a space for meetings, then housing with a community character, the space for young families and their children. Then we try to make the roof accessible because it offers beautiful views on the old city of Olomouc for everyone. So we try to make it public. And then we try to make spaces that can be used for any kind of purpose in the future. So they can be adaptable for basically almost anything. Here you can see the space and the volume schema. So this is the volume of the building itself. Here's the first floor where we try to create a community space because the first floor is the most accessible space for everyone. Then on the northern facade, which is not acceptable for housing in Czech Republic, and we have quite strict rules for this. So we try to adapt this space in the building for services. And also this pink volume represents the gym or the playground for families. Here you can see the bridge structures. We can call it a bridge or a ramp if you would like to. The idea was to add an element which would reconnect the building with its surroundings, which is nowadays quite in a bad condition. So other students were working also on the urban design around the building, and this ramp and this bridge serves as a let's say a street in the building. So also the pedestrians or the locals in the city part can use it to attend or to use the services inside the building. Here in the pink color, you can see the core with the staircase and also the inner garden, the atrium, which you've seen on the previous pictures. And here with the blue color are marked the new housing units. And also the roof spaces for workshops, and then at the end the roof garden, which is accessible for everyone. Here you can see the first floor plan. The structure of the building is really great for doing such a huge, let's say, approaches with the inner space, because we removed all the non-bearing walls inside, and we kept just the bearing columns. So here you can see, for instance, the installation shafts, which we also kept, and it was important to make the first floor adaptable for any use in the future. And here you can see the social facilities we kept to make it even more adaptable. Here you can see the typical plan for other floors. So here you can see the housing units, which are also adaptable. So we try to use as much as possible. So here you can see the existing cores, but the typology of flats can vary from one to another. Here is the space for people to meet, to interact together, and here's the main communication corridor, also connected with the outdoor staircases here and on this side. And it was also important to add these new communication ways to protect the people from fire. So the fire requirements in Czech Republic are also quite strict. So it also serves for this purpose. And this part on the northern facade is connected with the public functions. So you can see that here are some offices to rent, or even some services that people can use. And here's the schematic section of the building. So you can see that the corridor is leading through the volume from one side to another. It's connected with the ground floor, with the ramp, and also with the staircase on the other side. And here in the pink color, you can see the main or the, let's say, the most important space for the community, which is the outdoor playground. And here you can see the different typologies of housing units. So it can be adaptable for single families, for young families without children, or even with disabled people. So, and it can change through the time as well. And here I put some collages or some sketches to show you the atmosphere of the housing unit. So the space itself inside the unit can be either open space, or either it can be divided by some non-bearing walls to achieve some privacy for the family. And you can also make flats which are shared. For instance, you can have a shared kitchen or a shared living room, and then to make two separate rooms for the families. Here you can see the garden on the first floor, on the second floor in the building, and it leads through the height of the building towards its roof. So the natural light can come inside, and it's creating a pleasant atmosphere inside, so people can meet each other there, can gather, can, I don't know, even play guitar on anything they want to do. Here are some other pictures from inside. So here you can see the space on the first floor, which can be used for the community there as a space to organize events, even the food markets and so on. So it's a huge hall, basically, we can say. Here is the unit for rental, so you can run your business there. And here you can see the view from the roof to the inner atrium. And here the last one represents the gym or the playground inside the building, which is directly connected to the outdoor ramp and the staircase, so it can be accessible for everyone. And here, at the end of the presentation, I put the picture of the model. It was very funny to work with the model because we tried to make it as a Lego house, which can be rebuilt into several parts. So you can play, you can experiment with the space inside. And we also tried the lighting conditions, how the space is working, how the flats are working together, also with the corridors, with the spaces for meetings. And with the first floor, which you can see, it's basically it's completely open to public to organize some events. So here's the section with the atrium inside, which you can see here. And here are all the parts together. So the housing is marked with white. The public accessible space is marked with pink, and then you have the gray color, which represents the inner playground. So here you can see some atmospheres, some pictures from the model. And I would say that this project remained unfinished a bit because we still don't know what is going to happen in the surroundings of the buildings. So other students were working in the next semester on the urban part. So that's why the ramp and the staircases were not connected to anything, because it's the question for the future if such a structure can adapt to the city part and how the people will use the building. But we really believe that there is still a chance to save this structure because it's really valuable. We can see that it has a certain quality which can be offered to the locals, and we try to save as much as possible. So that's from my side, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you, Ms. Tatiana UHRIKOVA, for your presentation on reconversion of the refuse, which is about the reconstruction of the abandoned building of the unfinished campus in Omolot, Hchin. I'm not sure whether you still have a few minutes time before you go to your class. If you have,
yeah, I still have a few minutes, so I'll stay as long as I can.
All right. Probably I should ask the panel whether the panels want to give some feedbacks to Ms. Tatiana first before we proceed to Ms. Clarissa.
Okay. I think sure you can. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So hi, Tatiana. My name is Azari.
Hello.
Hi. Just to give you a quick comment before you leave. I think it's a brilliant idea trying to adapt a building in order to give it a new life, because I think this is one of the trickiest thing for an architecture students, because architecture students would love to start a project on a clean slate, you know, like an empty space, and then you can just build anything straight up. So it doesn't matter how you want to respond to the surroundings. It doesn't matter how you want to build that particular building, because there is no building there. But here, in your case, the challenge is because you have this particular building and you have to decide what can you do with it, how to best utilize the spaces and figure out whether it can work or not. So from what you have presented, I believe I can see that there are lots of ideas that can inject activities back into the building, give it life, give it more, well, at least it now has a purpose rather than just being, possibly being torn down, because that's what we do in Malaysia when a particular building is becoming defunct. What we usually do is just to demolish it. So we don't really embrace the whole concept of adaptive reuse. So I think what you are doing here, I think for particularly for my students, it will be a great example, because we are looking at a particular building, an unfinished building, and figure out what best we can do with that particular building. So I think that's great. I particularly like your sketches because those really quickly give me the idea of what you want to do. So I think you can have a lot more of that. I would really love to see it. So I think that's my comment for now. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Right. How about Dr. Tengku Intan?
Thank you, Dr. Izura. Okay, Ms. Tatiana, thank you very much for your presentation. I think it was a very good research being done. I can see you have done quite a good data collection, okay, on the case study. And then what I can suggest to you, maybe you can do some public survey on what they need, okay, so that you could understand from the community aspects, okay. Then only you can scope down on the function of the building that you are going to design. Okay, somehow I noticed you have quite good design scheme, but you can develop more by providing and enhance by giving a lot of greeneries, because you mentioned on having the park, okay. And then when you mentioned to give public spaces, maybe you have to look through the design of the spaces, means that you provide specifically for the activities that you want. For example, if you mention on the indoor playground, so how do you want the indoor playground to be? Okay, so that the layout of the building or the spaces will have its own identity or the special needs that it will carry out. Okay, I think that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much for advice.
All right. How about Architect Shahida?
Hi. Sorry. I have kids at the back actually. Okay, hi Tatiana. My name is
Hello.
Shahida. First of all, I think what you have presented just now is very brilliant. It's very nice to have to have adaptive reuse. Okay, where I mean not just abandon a building and then you refurbish it and then change the activity inside and then gauge the community and so on. But perhaps like what Dr. Intan said just now, another public survey perhaps can help on, and then it will reflect on how you should design the space, what is really their needs and how you apply in that building and so on. Okay, and another thing is that when you relocate each spaces, how do you actually respond to the environment? What is the view they can experience when they are in that space? So perhaps you can further look into that as well. But overall, it's very, very good. I think that's all from me.
Thank you very much. Actually, if I can say something, we try to make a public research as well, because it might be a very important part, as you said, to find out what people really need. And we had contact to one organization which helps the families to adapt or any other kind of help that they provide. So they gave us some information also about the numbers of the families which are in financial need and so on. So it helped as well. So that's why we took it also into account that the housing units are needed. So, but of course, we should do the more public survey. But yeah, at least we try something. But thank you for your comment.
That's great.
Thank you, Architect Shahida, and thank you again to Ms. Tatiana. All right, I think we can proceed with our third presenter, Ms. KLARISA AHUBNER, with her project title, Politika Housing on the Edge of the Town and Landscape.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Yep.
Okay, hi. I'm gonna share a screen. Okay, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay, so my name is KLARISA AHUBNER, and this was my bachelor's thesis. that I've done in my on my bachelor's program. Okay, my project is speaking about nowadays situations on the outskirts of most of European cities. The cities are keeping on spreading and are less and less dense. The main problem is that this is very expensive for the cities to build the roads, to put all the plumbing and electricity and network. Is very expensive for the city, and it is more that the city gets from the for the inhabitant from the state. Also, yeah, the low density, it is supposed to be at least 100 persons per 1 hectare to be efficient, but these structures usually don't have even half of it. But in my project, I really tried to achieve the 100, and I achieved a density of 97 persons per hectare. So I think that's a success for me. Also, the structure, as you can see here, are very inclusive. They have no civic amenities, such as shops, small tradesmen, kindergarten, schools, etc. So I was trying to insert the needed spaces for these and their further development. There are also no common spaces in most of suburban areas, and the areas are mostly privatized. My aim was to present some kind of manifesto of how could the suburban developments be thought of in the next decades. How to build for the individuals, but to be organized and all together, with all the perks that the edge of the city brings. This is a photo of, this is a little bit like way too much. This is edge of the American city. But this is actually a suburban area in the city that I've been working in. Okay, this is the city of Polička. It has about 9,000 inhabitants. The city is very old, but it burned down multiple times, so the center has been built up over and over again. And that's why my plot, the green line, is actually only like 10 to 15 minutes by walk into the city center. So I think I can afford to be dense in my plot. On the west side of the plot, we have the residential buildings from the 70s. They are like 4 to 5 levels high. And on the east side are the classic Czech suburban sprawl. The plots under it are gonna have the same structure on them as well. Yeah, here is shown the problem of space and prices in Czech Republic, because here in our rules, we have that if you build a family house on a property or on a plot, you have to have at least like 3 meters from each side and 3 meters from the road. But the prices of the land is very high. And in Brno, which is the city of our university, the suburban in the suburban area, the meter can go up to $1,000, the meter square. And so if you have this kind of plan, you have a lot of waste space, and this waste space, if the house is like 10 to 10 meters, you can have like several $1,000s of loss of unused space. So my aim is to put the house like this, but how can I do it if every architect has a different idea. Every individual wants their house to be different. So I wanted to show some kind of some kind of deal how we can see that. Yeah. So this is how I started to react with my plot. I was starting with the former fields of Politica, and I've put like this long rows on the plot. Then I've turned one part of it, so a person, when he walks around the plot, it's always like see-through. There's no like solid big structure which seems like enemy-like, so you can like see through and walk through, and it's very inviting. Then I've divided my plot into 4 parts of similar area and cut it through with these curved roads. It's curved once, so it can be like the same space, so it's you can like walk through and get into the center, not only on the side. And also when you drive, when you drive on the curved road, you drive slower. And yeah, and also it creates this great flow when you go through it. It's not just like the stacked houses next to each other, but it creates this like walk through. And at the end, I put the public amenities like shops and a co-work and kindergarten in here, which connects to the city. Then this playground and the English park. So this is how the urban plan looks like. As you can see, this is the English park, the common playground, and the civic amenities. I dealt with the parking. It's not very typical for Czech suburban areas, but I wanted to play with it a little bit. So I tried to put it underground, so there will be no cars between the houses. This is a little bit about the morphology, that my houses are only 2-story high. So it is not very, it's not that like sharp next to other, next to the neighboring areas. And this is the way how I thought about my houses. It's something between the family house and the residential building. It has both of it. There is one corridor in the line, as I call it, as the row, that connects it between the big roads. Each row has a garden, and it's sliced to the individual cells. The individual cells are actually created from the catalog that I made, that are different kind of houses. At the end, we have things as a storage and like place to put trash and things like that. So it's easily accessible with the car. And in the middle, there is a social space, which is more of the residential than family house thing. But yeah, there's a social space which is open for the parties, for the residential committee meetings and stuff like that. And people can also divide the gardens as they want. They can share it, or they can put a fence around their part and keep it for themselves. This is how the row or one of the rows looks like in the floor plan. and in the section. Yeah, you can see this is the main corridor. So it's like one piece, but still you can see one like different houses which is consist of. So the people have the feeling of their own house, but still they're part of a big development. And this is the possibility of dividing the garden. Yeah, this is how you can see the house from the garden and the interior. Yeah. And this is just like I'll go briefly through the catalog. I had the houses from from 2 plus KK. I don't know if you have the same system, but it's like two rooms with the kitchen. And I wanted to do it as cheap as possible, which is easier when I have the mass production. So when I made the whole development out of the system, I could have make it cheaper. It's made from the wood panels, and I managed it to like this simple 2 plus KK for 1,800,000 crowns, which is like 1 crown is $20. Yeah. And I have multiple different types of houses in my catalog. Yeah, so the biggest one is 4 plus KK, and yeah, it has much more rooms than. Okay, so that's basically it. That's my project. Thank you for your attention.
Right, thank you, Ms. Clarissa, on your presentation about housing on the edge of the town and landscape, which focusing on the exploring possibilities or solutions for new development on the outskirts of the town. Yeah, I think we can open the sessions for question and answer with the expert panel from UTM. May I invite Mr. Azari?
Hi. Shall we go to the first presenter first, or should I respond to Clarissa's presentation first? What do you think? I think I'll go for ONDEJ's ONDEJ. I think is that the right pronunciation? Yes. Yes, ONDEJ. All right. Gross domestic architecture. I think that's a brilliant approach for this project because I think one thing that I seldom see in my students is that they don't always go in depth into their exploration of the problem. So what I think you have just done is to actually look at the problem in depth, and I think this is brilliant. Can you hear me, Onde? Yes, you can hear me.
Sorry, but I have some issues.
Okay. I think the session is recorded, so I think we can review it afterwards. So let me just.
It's working now.
Okay, it's working now. So I think it's a brilliant approach, like I was saying just now, because you went in depth into the particular problem, because you are looking at the issues of the companies providing breaks for their workers, and how these breaks, if you accumulate it, it seems like a big waste of time. You know, it costing the company lots of money. And then you try to look at what are the ways that we can look into this particular layout of the building and make it more efficient. And I think this is a good example. And I think my students can actually learn a lot from this, because a lot of the time we see students only skim the surface. They just look at one particular problem and then quickly jump into conclusion, which is very bad when it comes to research, right? So I think that's a great approach. It's just that I would love to see more of your solution, because now I'm after watching your presentation, I'm totally engaged. I totally believe about this problem. If you're pitching to me like I'm the client, and I would say, yes, so what's your solution, Mr. Architect? You know, so just now you just glimpsed through about how you plan to solve the particular problem. So I would just love to see more of that, and how to see some sort of like a calculated solution. If we follow your layout, if we follow your design, how much time can we save? How much money can we save? The company and so on. So I think that's a brilliant way to approach into the particular problem. Yeah. So I think well done. Okay. Just to proceed to Clarisa's work. Just now on the housing on the edge of the town. So I think this is also quite an interesting approach for Clarisa. I think we have a sort of a similar problem in Malaysia. I think this is the same problem everywhere because housing is a big issue. And then we try to solve a particular problem in one particular housing, and then when we start building another housing, and then we have a different problem and so on. And then of course there's the issue of cost. So I think one of the things that I want to ask Clarisa is that after you propose the solution, how far do you think that the owners, when they stay in that particular building, is allowed to renovate or customize their homes? Just to get some clarification, if you can answer on that.
Only thing that is actually like set is the place and the color of the house. But what they do with it it's totally up to them.
I see. So meaning if they own, let's say they bought the house and then they start to move there, and then their family gets bigger and bigger, they have more children, and they need to add on extra rooms and so on. Can they expand their homes in let's say to extend into the garden or something like that? Is it possible?
Yeah, either they can buy, if it's possible, the house next door, because there are different volumes of the house, so they can buy a smaller one maybe next door, or they can there is a possibility that maybe they can build something on the garden, but it's there is this like stop or the enclave that all the house need to be like enlightened. There needs to be light in.
I see.
But you have the property, and probably you can build whatever you want. But also, like if it's a residential building, you need to have like a yes from people in the same row.
Oh, so you have to ask the permission from the neighborhood in order for you to construct anything add on.
Yeah, which is same if you build on the suburban area as well.
I see. Okay, that's a very interesting approach, because in Malaysia we have a thing that is very. I think if you come here to Malaysia, then you will notice this. People would love to customize their building right before they even move into the house. So imagine this is a new house. You as an architect, freshly designed. It's just, you just painted everything. And then the client comes in. I mean, they bought the house, so they start smashing all the walls down because I don't want this wall. I don't want this window. I want a new door. They totally customize it. So I think if you want to explore further, if you look into how we look at our own housing, it is more like architects have almost no use. I mean, if in developing large scale buildings, because all we need to do is just to give the most generic building possible, because when they move in, they will customize it themselves. So of course, then they will have to pay architects to renovate into their particular customizations. But I think what you can try to look here is that how far would you allow the owners to customize? Because customization is like it makes it personal. It makes my home mine and not yours. So I like blue, so I want to customize blue. But that is just colors. What if I have 10 children and I need to give them each one room, but I can't afford to buy another house? What do I do? So, trying to get into the idea of what if you can allow them to customize their homes and provide. We tried it here in Malaysia to a certain extent. We can do things, we cannot do things, and so on. But maybe a fresh mind, somebody such as yourself, who have never seen Malaysian culture, and then trying to figure out what if we can do certain ways, so just to give you an idea. Okay. So I think overall, well done. Thank you,
Yeah,
Clarissa.
thank you very much. It's very interesting because like this level of customization is really not common in Czech Republic. So I didn't thought about it this way. So thank you very much for the comment.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Azari. May I invite Dr. Tengku Intan Suraya for some feedbacks or questions to the presenters?
Thank you, Dr. Izura. Okay, so I shall go to the first presenter. Okay, I think your research is very interesting. Okay, I enjoyed very much on the documentary that you have shared. Okay, you have done quite a thorough research on the situation that you are looking into. Okay, so can you explain further on the expectation that you are going to analyze the problem that you are facing? So what are the objective or the outcome design solution that you want to prepare for your end of your research here?
Yes, I would say for me and for most of us in the studio, it was more about like discussing the topic and talking about it, because as I've said, there's not really any discussion in Czech Republic about these industry parks. Like if there are any problems with it connected, and everybody just accept it as a fact that it exists, and there are these companies or logistic halls or whatever. So it was more about like getting into the topic than just immediately or coming up with some kind of solution. But if I say something more about my project and the design itself, it was about looking for something that the company already does for their employees to make their job more enjoyable or more pleasant, and trying to expand more on it. So extending the time of their breaks and designing these platforms and spaces for them to enjoy more their breaks. Yeah, so that was it.
Okay, I think that's almost to the correct direction. So maybe you can analyze the data that you have, and maybe you can provide some guidelines, okay, in order to help them to at least have an idea what they can improve for their spaces, right? Okay, so thank you. I think that's all from me. So for the third presenter, Miss Clarissa. Okay, I think it was a very nice project. Okay, I like the way you analyze the arrangement. Okay, but how do you actually determine on the number or the types of housing units? Because I noticed you have different colors, right? So how do you actually differentiate the numbers on what basis actually you provide them?
I was trying to have the similar amount of each of the houses, reflecting that the yellow ones, which are the smallest ones, should be for the people as the single parents or an old people, because they're no story, they're just one level, and so on. So I tried to find like the, let's say in English, the target people to or the people that I wanted to accommodate, and try to design the type of houses in their yeah. I hope you understand me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to explain.
Okay, thank you. So basically, do you did inject any theme in your design of the layout? Because I noticed that you provide some public spaces. Okay, so how do you actually determine the hierarchy from the public, semi-public to private area?
Yeah, I think it's very. I think it's kind of obvious from the floor plan, because as I wanted to save as like the junk space as possible, I really want to use every inch. So I have just like two big main streets which are public, like fully public, and the parks which are fully public. And then all the areas, 4 of them, are just semi-public. So if you walk inside of them, you're automatically in the corridor or in the house or in the garden. Yeah, so there's just like this big space which are public, which are really usable, and then the smaller ones which are so common in suburban areas I try to diminish them as much as possible.
Okay, thank you very much, Clarissa. Okay, I think that's all from me, Dr. Izura. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Intan. May I invite Architect Shahida for feedbacks?
All right. Hi to both students, Onde and Clarissa. So I will go with Onde first. Hi, Onde. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. Very good. I can see that you really enjoy doing your project. Am I right?
Yeah, I've enjoyed, especially the part when we are making the documentaries.
Yeah, because I know that it is very important. What you are doing is very brilliant, because to the businessman, time is about money. Okay, because there's a lot of things they can do and produce in 1 minute and so on. And on the other side, for the workers, it is important for us to create a healthy environment for them to work. And also it's about work-life balance. So what you're proposing is really hit the things. I mean, the big issue behind what are behind what are the workers facing, and you are proposing a spaces for them to accommodate the 8 minutes break. But then overall is very, very good. It's a very practical solution. I can see it. It's just that perhaps you can also look on the other side, which is on the safety side to the workers itself, because I can see that from the simulations that you did, it seems like everybody need to climb up the ladder. Am I right?
Yeah.
Okay, because we are human, we have different sizes. So does it fit to all types of humans, or how do you tackle that? Because climbing up, it's kind of easy, but sometimes when you want to climb down, it's gonna be another issue. Okay, so perhaps you can look into it. A little bit of modification, or to solve this issue, but the overall idea is very, very good. Do you have any idea how you want to solve this safety issue amongst the workers?
Well, to be honest, I thought about it during the project, but when we found out, when we visited the companies, we found out that they are actually really strict about safety and everything. I mean, there's even a person who's hired just for taking care that everybody who walks on the stairs, that they are holding the rails all the time. Yeah, because when the employee, they get hurt and they are not able to work for a few times, it's really expensive for the company. So they are really strict about these things. So therefore, I'm not quite sure that they would allow these kind of ladders and so on. But for me, yeah, I didn't get it into the stage where I would have like sections and details and whatnot. It was more about the idea. So I didn't pay that much thought about the safety of getting to the platforms and getting off from the platforms.
Okay, all right, Andy. But overall, I can say that it's a very brilliant idea. Just that in terms of the practicality side and the safety side, also we as an architect, we also need to look into it as well. Okay, but overall, good job. Okay, now I'll move to the next
Thank you.
presenter, Clarissa. It's about housing. Okay, you asked just now, are we using the same system like you did in your country? It's a bit different. In Malaysia, we use, if it says 2 bedrooms, that means we have, if that house you categorize as 2 rooms, which means you have 2 bedrooms and 1 living room. Yours is like rooms is, you are counting living room as a rooms as well, am I right? So that is actually the system being used in our neighbor country, which is Singapore. Singapore is using that system. Our country, Malaysia, we are using different systems a little bit. And another thing is that, like what Encik Azhar said just now, is there any possibilities for the extension and so on? Because the rules and regulations in Malaysia is a bit different. I'm not sure in your country, how do you settle that? In Malaysia, we do have what we call the strata title. It's for the houses where you cannot do any renovations for that kind of linear houses, like a terrace houses and so on. But normal terrace houses, we can always do extension, renovation, the facade, and so on. It's just that overall idea is very good. I can see that you have spaces where it connects to one another, different types, and how you combine that into one scheme is very, very good. It's just that I think in terms of the spaces, you also need to look into the human behavior. Because as you said just now, the residents could be housewife, elderly, and so on. And how do they practically use the spaces? If the housewife, probably they are spending more time in the houses and they need to monitor the kids as well, and you need to make sure that whenever they are spending time in the kitchen, they can look into the kids and so on. And then, you know, this because we need to think about this development as well, because it's very important for the development of a human from their kids until they becomes an adult. Okay, and then another thing is that I just curious, is there any issues, I mean, safety issues among kids and so on in your country? Like in Malaysia, we do have a lot. And so that's why safety issue amongst kids and children is very, very crucial, because kidnappers is everywhere and so on. So that's why we can have some sort like a gated and so on, so that when the kids playing around and the playground and so on, so it is kind of safe for them. So I'm not sure, how do you have this kind of issues, and how do you tackle this?
We are not really dealing with this kind of issue, especially in the small town, which Politica is. It's about 9,000 people. So yeah, like in Czech Republic, we call it the suburban area, or like the most boring areas. Like nothing happens ever there, which I actually try to like improve a little bit with my project to not have that like really dead space, dead space.
Okay.
So yeah, like this kind of issues are not really dealt with in Czech Republic.
Okay, all right, then I'm clear with that. It's very good. Then I think it's a very good scheme. Good effort. Thank you, Clarissa. I think that's all comment
Thank you very much.
From me, Dr. Izura. So I'll pass back the floor to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you to all the panels, Mr. Azari, Architect Shahida, and also Dr. Tengku Intan. And thank you again to all the presenters from Brno University of Technology. It seems like we are nearly at the end of this very interesting discussion, unfortunately. But before we end the session, is there any word of advice that the panels would like to share with the presenters and also the students who are also in this event? Probably we can invite Dr. Radek Toman, or maybe Dr. Jan Kristek.
Yeah, maybe not any advice, just a comment that I have to say that it was clear that from the side of your students, there was really enormous amount of work. It was obvious that those projects were like complex in terms of like presentation, maybe structure, technical things and so on. So maybe later on at some other occasion, I don't know, I would be also interested how your study programs are structured. What does it mean to do to studio in connection to other subjects and so on. So this is what I would be very much interested in. Myself, yes. So I have to really appreciate, the complexity of the projects I have seen and the amount of work, maybe a motivation that was really present in the projects. So yeah, good job. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you, Dr. Jan Kristek. Dr. Radek, Toman, is there any feedbacks, overall feedbacks that you want to share?
Yeah, I would maybe just add some other practical information. And yeah, as a feedback, I really like all the projects. I think all the projects, they are really well elaborated, and they just they are quite clear, and they go quite deep with the issue they are dealing with. And the practical thing I have in my mind is that at the beginning of March, we have submitted the proposal for the collaboration to Erasmus committee. So now we are waiting for the result, and hopefully, if we receive the financing support, we can start with we can offer the scholarships for students to go to Czech Republic, or for Czech students to go to Malaysia. So this we have submitted successfully, and now we are just waiting for results. And I have also sent the draft of MOU to our rectorate, and now I'm waiting for their reply. And I think there will be no problem with it.
Right.
So that's from my side. Yeah.
Thank you very much. How about Mr. Azari? Do you have anything to say?
I would like to congratulate everyone for the for the presentation. I think you guys have done well. I really love the sharing session. I would love to have more sessions like this, especially on the earlier part where we can, exchange ideas on what's how you want to develop certain things and how we can expand and so on. Like I mentioned just now, particularly that my students, they want to quickly understand the problem and just go and proceed to solve the particular solution. So I think this is one thing that I think Mr. Kristek mentioned, that the project looks complex. Well, maybe it looks complex, but because they jump straight ahead to the problem solution part rather than trying to explore how can we solve this particular problem and so on. So it's a very product-oriented approach rather than trying to tackle the problem itself. So yeah, it tend to look a little bit complex, but I would love to have my students to really, spend 4 weeks trying to figure out what is the problem and how to solve the solution, and do a lot of readings and so on, and not watch YouTube to find solution for them, So yeah, I think it's a good session, and hopefully we can do more of this in the future. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Azari. Dr. Tengku Intan?
Okay. Overall, I would like to congratulate all the presenters. Okay, I think all of them managed to share a very wide scope of different knowledge. Okay, so we are able to do a lot of sharing in this session, so we can enjoy different approach that each of the students are sharing with us. So I hope in future we can have a lot more of this session so that we can expand the knowledge together. That's all from me. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Intan. Architect Shahida, if you have anything to say?
Sure, a little bit of last word. By the way, I would like to congratulate you guys as well. I think all of you has done a very good job. Okay, very nice evolutions and ideation. So I'm really looking forward to have more sessions like this in the future between BUT and also UTM students. So perhaps I would like to see more. I mean, especially in the early sessions. I mean, early stage of how you develop the designs, the ideations, and so on. And also another stage of when it comes to the end product. That's all from me. Keep up the good work, everyone.
All right, thank you, Architect Shahida. Okay, I think the last one, I would like to ask all the attendees to switch on your cameras so that we can take a screenshot photo of our event today to commemorate this International Design Colloquium 2022 between Architecture Program UTM and Architecture School, Brno University of Technology. If that's okay with everyone. All right. Smile, everyone. 1, 2, 3. Another one. Okay. All right, thank you very much. To those who have yet to fill in the attendance link in the chat box, please fill it in so that we can send you the webinar e-certificate later. And with that, we have come to the end of the session. Again, on behalf of the organizer, Program of Architecture, UTM, I would like to thank you all our expert panels for your interesting and insightful feedbacks, and to all our presenters for your exciting presentations, as well as the audiences. It was a pleasure to have you all with us. And please be informed that we will have another event tomorrow, the International Architecture Research Colloquium at the same time. So have a good day and goodbye for now. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Alright.
It
Ayan.
was a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Radek. Thank you to
Thank
all
you,
the
bye.
students. Thanks. Hope to see you soon. Bye-bye.
Have a nice day. Bye-bye.
You too. Bye.